All of us had some poor decisions to make when we were teenagers, right? However, some decisions have caused so much harm that it's frightening and has us questioning if a teenager could ever do such a heinous act. The following 4 teenagers committed such awful acts that it is undoubtedly disturbing. Dante Wright. Jordan Klee was a popular high school football player from Ann Arbor, Michigan. He still had his entire life ahead of him. He was found dead in October 2016, which startled the neighborhood. While he was supposed to be in class at Pioneer High School that day, he was shot and collapsed. He was killed by a young man named Dante Wright with the help of 2 other men. He had attempted to rob Jordan. The robbery ended when Jordan passed away. The neighborhood needed explanations badly, and in the end Dante himself gave them. Dante Wright was supposed to attend a pre-trial hearing in this case, but instead he admitted to trying to rob Jordan with 2 other people while holding a gun to his head. To the lawyer's questions, Dante responded calmly and concisely. He never gave the impression that he was truly sorry throughout the entire process. The fact that he would likely spend the majority of his life in prison as a result of what he confessed didn't even seem to bother him. He didn't even try to be respectful, possibly hoping to convince the judge to be lenient even when his sentence was being read aloud. He grinned. Nothing but a lovely and content smile could be seen on his face. Jordan's mother, Karen Klee, requested that County Klee read Jordan's victim impact statement in court since Karen was too upset to do so. Dante reads this proclamation while maintaining an unapologetic demeanour. Dante declines the chance to address the court and the victim's family and shows neither remorse or regret. The case's presiding judge was totally annoyed. For the second-degree murder and armed robbery, Dante received a sentence of 23 to 50 years in prison. Dylan Shoemaker. The following video shows a young boy named Dylan Shoemaker being tried in Buffalo, New York courtroom. After being found guilty of second-degree murder at the age of 16, he is now awaiting sentencing. When his fiancée left that evening for work, Shoemaker took care of his kid. He was in the house he and his dad shared in Springville. The 23-month-old infant was beaten later that evening, and as a result of the injuries sustained, the child passed away. Later, Dylan Shoemaker was found and accused of killing the toddler, as well as child abuse. Shoemaker's attorney claimed that he was attempting to calm the sobbing infant and that he had no desire to harm or kill the youngster, but the jury did not believe him, and Shoemaker was found guilty of second-degree murder. As we can see, Shoemaker begins sobbing and apologising to everyone as soon as he walks into the courtroom before he's even had a chance to set up behind the defence table. Later, Shoemaker was given the maximum penalty with a 25-year minimum term. However, the sentence was later changed to 18 years to life. Marty Fuller. At the time, Kaylee Juga, then 15 years old, and her stepmother, Stephanie Huger, were planning a family camping trip. Unfortunately, the journey was never taken. When the tragedy occurred, Kaylee, who had split up with her boyfriend Marty Fuller weeks earlier, was in her room listening to music. After she caused him to be expelled from school and be removed from the football team, Fuller accuses Kaylee of being the root cause of his issue. On May 9, 2019, he entered Kaylee's room covertly while brandishing a weapon. Fuller was familiar with the house because he frequented it. 15-year-old Fuller went into Kaylee's room and shot her 5 times. When the mother heard gunshots and went outside to investigate, Fuller turned on her, shot her again and fled. Thankfully, she was lucky. Shortly after, Fuller was detained and charged with murder, attempted murder and burglary. Despite the fact that authorities found the gun he gave a relative to dispose of matched the one used in the crime. He insisted on his innocence throughout the trial. Kaylee's mother spotted him and reported what she witnessed, despite the fact that later she started crying as she talked about losing her child. When Fuller had the chance to testify in court, he argued that he was innocent and claimed that the media had unfairly portrayed him. Here is a letter that he wrote and had read by his lawyer. Fuller was sentenced to a life in prison without the chance of release, and the judge gave no indication of regret as he read it out. Shondell Jackson. Shondell Jackson, a young felon, is seen to us. He is present for his sentencing for the murder of a college student in the Milwaukee County Courthouse. Jackson, 18, and a companion were allegedly looking for victims when they noticed Potter leave a pub. The victim, Nathan Potter, was a 21-year-old student at the University of Wisconsin in Milwaukee. They pursued Potter and made money demands. However, when Jackson discovered that Potter had no money, things changed. When Jackson shot him, he died right away. Jackson, according to authorities, escaped to Mississippi the day following Potter's murder. Jackson was apprehended when it was claimed that his uncle gave the police a tip regarding his whereabouts. Jackson made gestures towards the victim's family while he was on trial and when he was being led out of the courthouse, as shown in the video. Just before the sentencing, you can see him grinning at the family. Jackson lost his cool as the judge sentenced him to life in jail without the chance of parole. Jackson is serving life in prison without parole. His friend pleaded guilty to acting as the lookout. It was very terrifying. How do they ever muster the courage to do such heinous crimes? Do you believe that justice was done? Please tell us in the comments.